Hello and welcome to The Mint here on ZTN Prime. My name is Rumbazai Venge. This afternoon, Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion Minister Professor Mthuli Ncube will present the 2025 midterm budget review at Parliament Building in Harare. Now, this will provide an update on Zimbabwe's economic performance thus far in the first half of the year, and it will also outline fiscal projections for the remainder of 2025. This afternoon, we are here to review the journey so far, focusing on how the budget's initial promises have actually translated into real-world impact on governance, on public services, and the rights and well-being of our citizens as Zimbabweans.
And I'm Kuzanai Sharara, and as Rumbidzai highlighted, this budget is not only about the review, but we are also looking at the expectations going forward, what will happen in the last half of the 2025 national budget. So looking forward to what the minister has in the bag, what sort of changes he's going to make for the rest of the year.
Absolutely, and Kudzi, I mean, even when we look at some of the key expectations, which I know we'll discuss at length as we wait for the presentation of the mid-term budget review. Maybe even looking at the theme, how significant is the theme?
Yes, so when you look at the theme, Rumbi, it was building resilience for sustained economic transformation. So the objectives of that theme was for us to achieve as a country, to achieve economic stability. And when you talk about economic stability, we're talking about, if you look at inflation, we have had our several years of higher levels of inflation. So we're talking about price stability when it comes to that. We're also looking at our exchange rate in terms of do we have a stable currency? And we believe that through the 2025 national budget, the minister had tried to put in some measures in terms of how can we support the measures that were put in place by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe after the introduction of our own local currency, the ZiG, and the measures that were then put in the 2025 national budget were meant to support that stability. So it will be interesting to see what more can be done and whether the minister is also happy with the kind of stability that we are enjoying at the moment.
Absolutely. We will hear about various issues. We want to look at this, the budget, from a holistic perspective.
Yes, it's not only about the numbers.
No,
there are
it's
issues
not.
of governance.
Absolutely, and you're so right. There are key promises that were made, Kudzi, and even looking at some of the expectations, there were issues around fostering ecosystems for innovators, ensuring that all stakeholders, business, labor, civil society, and citizens are genuine partners in national development. What exactly does that look like? I know we say that so often, but what are we asking for?
Yes, Rumbi, you can talk about growth, you can talk about the numbers, but again, at the end of the day, you need to look what sort of impact is that having on, you look at our social issues, education, for example, health, for example. What sort of impact? Are we seeing any change, or we are just happy to look at the numbers? I'm a numbers person, of course, and the minister, when he did his 2025 national budget statement back in November, he had projected that the economy will grow by 6%, and it will be interesting to see whether we would have achieved that growth, because that growth was anchored on the recovery of the agricultural sector, because we're likely to get better rains, and I think we've managed to get better rains, and so the recovery in agriculture. And you look at what has happened with tobacco, we are in record level territory. The highest we had ever had in Zimbabwe was to grow about 296 kilograms of kgs of tobacco, and we are above 350 million kgs of tobacco. So there's been recovery there. But what has happened with the other sectors? Are they performing as much as we have seen in agriculture? What is happening in mining? So it will be interesting to hear what the minister has to say with regards that growth. As he prepares to speak, we are keenly awaiting how realistic these the figures that were shared in November in terms of the growth projections.
Indeed. You also, highlight that very crucial issue, the El Nino-induced drought. We're also expecting, our geography students, I know, are excited all over the country, the La Nina effect, and obviously what that translates into. There's also issues around, government policy, strengthening and fostering systems, particularly in agriculture and other sectors as well. So I'm also very interested to hear what the minister will have to say in that regard as well.
Yeah, that's true, because we are going into that period where, as a country, we've always had instability as we head into the summer cropping season. And I'm sure the minister will come up with some measures in terms of how is government going to support the farmers going into the next season. What sort of policies are there? Back in the day, I think 2016, thereabout, we had the Command Agriculture that was as a vehicle to support agriculture. As much as we managed to achieve good productions during that period, but when it comes to the impact for the rest of the economy, that's where issues of inflation started to crop up, issues of high national debt started to crop up. So there's been calls that we need to review how we fund the agriculture sector, and we've got several schemes that are there. How best are we going to do it? And I think it will be interesting to see how the minister is going to look into that. And you're also looking at away from that, Rumbi, we are also looking at the projections that were made in terms of revenue collections. I think the estimated revenue collections were about 270 billion ZiG, which is about 19.6% of the national GDP. And we were also expecting to spend about 276 billion ZiG. So we're going to collect 270 billion and then spend 276 billion. So there was going to be a slight deficit there. I think they were targeting about 1.5%. And that was the goal, to contain the budget deficit at about 1.5%. So we expect the minister to provide a clear picture to say, are we on course to achieve that? Maybe I can share some numbers from the first quarter. So for the first quarter, ZIMRA managed to collect about government revenues of about 1.7 billion, 1.74 billion that was collected. And the target was to collect 1.55 billion. So ZIMRA has done well in terms of collections, but that's the first quarter. What then happened in the second quarter? Did we collect as per targets? Or we even collected much more than the targets? But it doesn't end from just collecting revenue, Rumbi. It then we need to then speak to how are we spending this money. We have had some ministries that when you look at their spending of the budget allocations, some are at 23%. Some would have done, I know there are some that have done more than 100%, some even more than 200% in terms of what they would have been allocated. So it would be interesting to hear from the minister to say, so what's happening and how does he plan going forward in terms of revenue, not only revenue collections, but also in terms of the spending. We still have, as much as we have done a lot, we still have, I wouldn't say our health is where it should be, our education, infrastructure, we're not where we should be. So it will be interesting to hear what the minister has to say there, and whether he is going to maintain those targets from the beginning of the year.
Interesting indeed. They always say the biggest room anyway is room for improvement. Yes, so we are looking forward to that. But coming to that figure, so the revenue authority is actually collected. They've surpassed expectations. What do we draw from that? Is this telling us that there are more crimes being committed, as such more fines are being collected? We also, on the other hand, must look at the porous borders and, the need to scale down a lot of illicit flow. There's a lot of smuggling coming in. What can we really, garner from this picture?
You are right, Rumbi. I think as a country, we've got so much potential in terms of just what we can collect from within. Yes, we are in a debt situation. We need support from the international community, but at the moment we are in arrears. We can't borrow. Sanctions will also play their part there in terms of us not being able to access funding. But I believe that if Zimbabweans were to, everybody was to play their role in terms of paying their taxes, Rumbi, I think we should be collecting more than the 1.7 billion that we are talking about, because the latest numbers that came from Zimsted will show you that in terms of informalization of the Zimbabwean economy, we are above 76%.
Shock, 76.1%, I think
yes,
it said. Yeah,
exactly. And that tells you that the chances of collecting revenue from the 76% are very slim. But imagine if all those people were contributing, whether it is $1, whether it is $10. You know, with taxes, I think there's a lot of confusion from people. They believe that you be taxed. Yes, taxes might be higher, but if you don't make a profit, you are not supposed. You don't pay the tax. You are only taxed from, if you're a corporate, from the taxes that you actually the profits that you would have made. But if you look at the numbers, the companies that are said to be large companies in Zimbabwe, they are just more than 2,000, just about 2,000. And that tells you a story. The rest of the economy, in fact, I think it was, maybe you saw the numbers, I think 73% of the companies that are said to be operating both formally and informally are your sole traders.
I did see that, yes, yeah. So. Yeah. It's like a double-edged sword, I think.
So to answer your question, to say, I think Zimra has done well in trying to bring more people into the tax net, but I think more can be done. I think recently they were given teeth in terms of what they can do. They can come and say, Rumbi, are not contributing tax. We're going to close your shop until you contribute or make payment plans. I think that is that's why they've managed to collect more, but also because there are some sectors of the economy that are really doing well, and we've been seeing numbers from listed companies that some companies are really doing well, but I think we can do more, because if you then look at the numbers, the numbers will tell you that corporate tax, which is tax that are paid by companies, has gone down from more than 20% pre-COVID to less than 10%. I think it's now at 8%. It shows you that corporates, they are not contributing more to the fiscus. It's you and I, individuals, that are contributing more. And then VAT, I think, is at the top. When we go and buy stuff and we're charged VAT, that's the biggest contributor in our economy. And then individuals, as our employers, as we contribute to our pay as you earn, I think we are the second biggest contributor. And I think that shouldn't be the case.
Not at all. And I suppose, you know, we will be able to see quite clearly where the gaps are and what can be done. But just bringing you back, because we did talk about, you know, some of the expected increases, expected gains in the agricultural sector due to a good season. You talked about really amazing gains in the tobacco sector, for example. But I'm looking forward to hearing from the minister in terms of assurances that can be offered for continued support. There were various vulnerable populations, marginalized populations who were needing food aid, who were needing quite a lot of support as a result of that drought situation. So maybe just, you know, positing there, what do you think that the aid will continue, or perhaps if the gains are good enough, that could also mean, you know, surplus going back into the sector, or perhaps to be channeled to other sectors as well?
Yeah, I think there's always, like you said earlier on, there's always room for improvement, and there's always room for improvement. But I think maybe it's something that we can talk about after the break.
Indeed. Do you stay with us, so we take a short break?
Didn't graduate. I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoilt.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
The guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
The Phoenix Podcast has always brought you the best of the best.
I missed on that blessing, but I also regained it in some way.
In seasons 1 and 2, we introduced you to the industry's brightest stars, the ones at the top of their game, the creme de la creme. But season 3 promises to be even more exciting. We're bringing you even more fascinating guests, including the renowned farmer, Patrick Matadi. And to top it all off, our very own host, Ken Sharp, will be stepping out of the interviewer's chair and into the hot seat as he gets interviewed by a surprise guest host.
From the boss, we've been beaten, but we're not beaten yet. We can still rise.
Konapo Ipapo by ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be. Catch exclusive interviews every weekday for candid, exciting, and thought-provoking conversations with your host, Erika Ndoro.
We talk about arts, we can talk about sports, we can even talk about politics, and sometimes we venture into a nice guitaristic play. The one story where you can't get out of your head. Wakatarisa munhu so Erika like where you are sitting. Ndozongokona bata face so pasina munhu.
Wakasiya music yako yo afro chakuti ndo music manje yemuZimbabwe.
And I'm sure they're still saying the same thing now.
Yeah, so Shona kana kuti Chindevere kana mumwe mutauri muno muZimbabwe ndiwe iwewe. Ndiwo rupawo rwako. Ndicho chidadiso chako.
Catch me, Erika Ndoro, right here on ZTN Prime every single Monday at 7 p.m. whilst we get exclusive.
Welcome back, gospel music lovers, to another season of My Ultimate Gospel 10. Your ultimate destination for soul-stirring melodies and inspirational stories.
Prepare me for a good day.
God is faithful because He's holy.
Like, wow, this is beautiful.
Each week, they'll be revealing their top 10 gospel songs. Meet Miss Becky K, the dynamic and passionate new presenter for Season 3.
If you are ready, let's get into My Ultimate Gospel 10.
Premiering soon, only on ZTN Prime. Stay tuned and let the music uplift your soul.
Captain Wally J's about to take you to boot camp.
It's the riveting science and tech show that keeps you up to date with the hottest gizmos on the block and revealing the illustrious and innovative visionaries in Zimbabwe. So much to see, you'll keep swiping.
This cherry red beauty is the Dairy Auto M7 mini electric car.
They've designed our brute force incubator board.
Look at what we've got here.
Solar powered scarecrow was part of the project that I was supposed to complete.
Catch Swipe every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294. Get
Welcome back. We now take you to Parliament Building in Mount Hampton, where our correspondent Eben is waiting there with Finance Minister ready to present the midterm budget review.
Yeah?
likely be hearing from Finance Minister? Lots of expectations
yes,
now,
lots of
isn't it?
expectations. I can see there the Minister of Finance, Professor Mthuli Ncube, there standing just next to the Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Anxious Masuka. And I can see there the Minister of Tourism and Hospitality, there, Honorable Barbara Rhodes there. You know, every minister, I'm sure they'll be looking at what does the Minister of Finance have for me in his kit. Is he going to increase my budget allocation? Is he going to give me more? Especially the Minister of Agriculture, I think going into the agriculture season, the 2025-2026 agriculture season, he will be interested to know what the minister has for him. Remember that without funding, we have what the Presidential Agriculture Input Scheme that is funded by government, and I'm sure the Minister of Agriculture would have made proposals in terms of what can be provided towards all those schemes, and also making sure that the seed producers, the chemical manufacturers, the fertilizer manufacturers are well equipped so that we get into the agriculture season in good state. And I think every minister there is looking at their own ministries and in their own allocation. But I think at the end of the day, it's for the national good. The minister, I'm sure you allocate knowing the demands that come from various ministries.
Absolutely, and so hopefully prioritization also going forward. Education, I think we also talked a little bit about some of the expectations there. We always are governed by the Abuja Declaration, and you know, I particularly have a vested interest in seeing you know, how close we are to meeting the mark at this year.
Yes, I think even when you look at education, you look at our universities, we know the issues that were there at the University of Zimbabwe, and it's something that even some government officials through social media actually say that these are some of the things that need to be addressed. And I'm sure the minister has got something that he has to offer for those in the educational sector. So yeah, lots of expectations, but I think when I look at what the outturn, what happened in the first quarter of the year, the numbers that I was talking about, I think that was a good foundation to start the year with. And I think the second half things would have improved, and I think also hoping that ministries will also be spending their allocations. You know, some ministries will get to the end of the year having spent less than half of their allocation. So hopefully there will be something for them in there. And turning to specific sectors, Rumbi, the budget highlighted supporting productive value chains for agriculture. I think about 420 million ZiG was set aside for engineering, mechanization, farm infrastructure development, and I think we'll be scrutinizing how these funds have been utilized and the impact on agriculture output, especially given the challenging climate conditions.
And I mean, it will seem like we are talking a lot about agriculture. We will definitely jump onto all the other sectors as well, but you'll agree that there's been quite a lot of crucial developments in that sector. Also, the issue of you know, the land tenure issues were adequately addressed by the budget with efforts to transform the 99-year lease into a bankable, registrable and transferable document. So I think that will also be a very interesting chapter for us to unpack as we continue on.
Yes, I think it's an important issue, the issue of 99-year leases and land tenure, because what it does, I think once people have got title, once they've got that kind of collateral, they can then go to financial institutions and get funding instead of looking at the minister to say, so what is the minister going to do to fund us? Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, Kudzi, we must look at issues around containing deficit. We talked quite a lot. I think the minister highlighted it in the budget statement, the issue of overhang from debts, ensuring or really calling for more long-term fiscal sustainability, creation of that fiscal space for critical public spending.
Yes, that again is also important because I think over the years, I would say, if I wear my analyst hat, I would say that some of the inflation and currency volatility that we have witnessed over the years, I think from 2016 thereabout, are a result of spending more than we generated. So we ended up with these budget deficits, and I think, but the minister, I think they identified, which is something that I always applaud the Minister of Finance for having done. They identified that some of the spending is basically allowing Rumbi to charge for a phone that should be at $100. Rumbi will come in and charge it at 1,000, and government will just pay Rumbi. But they introduced the value for money, where they are really looking and said, okay, Rumbi, you're saying your phone is at 1,000, but let's get some more quotations and see what is the true value of this. And I think that has managed to help the minister stay within the budgets. So I think the continuing to contain that budget deficit is key, but also making sure that those who would have provided services, the suppliers, the contractors, they should also, if they've provided services, they should also be paid so that they can go back, grow their companies, expand, get the working capital, and I think it will be for greater good. So it will be interesting. I think for me, there've been a lot of talk out there that some contractors are not being paid, but I think the minister can come in and clarify on those issues to really say this is what we are doing as government. Yeah.
And you also highlight that issue of procurement. We must talk about the e-procurement system, the EGP system, also looking at some of the leaks that have been plugged, I think, because the public procurement system was one that also saw quite a lot of money being lost there.
Yes, I think on that note, we'll come back and talk about
we'll
that.
Definitely
but
come
yes,
back.
But
yes.
Let's say we take a break and come back.
You do stay with us.
Didn't graduate. I guess I blew it.